After my son's death, I carried a secret that weighed on my soul more than grief itself. Losing him was unbearable, but what followed after his passing shook my conscience in ways I never imagined. My son, Daniel, was only 34 years old when a sudden accident ended his life. A devoted husband, a loving father, and the only light I had left in this world after my husband passed away years ago. When he died, a part of me died too, but amidst my tears and trembling hands, I found myself holding an envelope that contained his last will. It wasn't the paper itself that shook me, it was the words inside. Daniel had left behind a house, 2 cars, and a small sum of money, but what stunned me most was this line: "To my mother, I leave the house and cars, for she has been my guiding hand all my life. To my wife, Sarah, I leave my love, my blessings, and the savings account that I hope will help her raise our daughter." Sarah, my daughter-in-law, had always been kind. She and Daniel shared a love that was pure, and their little girl Emily was the joy of both their lives. But I couldn't help the storm of emotions that consumed me when I read his will. For years, I'd lived in loneliness after my husband's death, and Daniel had been my anchor. Losing him meant losing everything, and when I read that he left the house and cars to me, I clung to those words like a lifeline, but then the guilt struck me. How could I keep this from Sarah? She deserved to know the truth. And yet, something inside me resisted. Maybe it was fear of losing the only security I had left. Maybe it was selfishness, or maybe it was the grief speaking for me. So, when Sarah asked me about the will, I told her quietly, "Daniel didn't leave one. We will have to manage things together." The lie burned on my tongue, but she believed me. She was shattered by his death and could barely think of anything beyond Emily. She nodded and said she trusted me. Those words pierced my heart deeper than anything else. Days turned into weeks. I watched Sarah struggle to make ends meet, trying to provide for Emily while drowning in her sorrow. She sold her jewelry to pay for school expenses, while the cars sat unused in the driveway. She walked to work every day, while I knew a single word from me could change everything for her. Every night, I sat alone in my room, holding Daniel's will, reading it over and over again, hearing his voice in my head. "Take care of Sarah and Emily, Mom. Be their strength." But instead of honoring his words, I betrayed them. The burden became heavier when Emily, with her innocent eyes, came to me one night and asked, "Grandma, why does Mommy cry so much? Did Daddy leave us nothing?" My heart broke. I wanted to tell her the truth, to tell her that her father had indeed left them something, but my fear silenced me again. Months passed, and my health began to decline. Stress, guilt, and age caught up with me. Sarah noticed, and instead of blaming me or resenting me, she cared for me like her own mother. She cooked meals, made sure I took my medicine, and even reassured me when I cried quietly at night. Her kindness was unbearable because it reminded me of my deception. One evening, after Emily had gone to bed, Sarah sat with me. Her face was pale, tired, but her voice was gentle. "I don't know how to do this anymore," she whispered. "Life without Daniel feels impossible. Sometimes I wonder how I'll raise Emily alone." Tears streamed down my face, and I couldn't hold the truth inside anymore. I walked to my drawer, pulled out the envelope, and handed it to her. My hands trembled as I said, "Forgive me, Sarah. This is Daniel's will. I should have given it to you months ago." Her eyes widened as she unfolded the paper and read the words. For a long time, she said nothing. The silence was louder than any scream. Finally, she looked at me, her voice breaking. "Why didn't you tell me?" I sobbed like a child. "Because I was afraid. Afraid of being left with nothing. Afraid of losing Daniel all over again. I thought, if I held on to the house and cars, maybe I'd still feel like a part of him was here with me. But I was wrong. I betrayed his trust. And yours." Sarah's tears fell as she closed the will and held my hand. "You should have told me, yes, but I don't hate you. I understand your pain. We both lost him, and grief makes us do things we never thought we would." Her forgiveness was like a balm to my wounded heart. For the first time in months, I felt Daniel's presence again, not through the house or the cars, but through the love that remained between us as a family. Together, we decided to honor his wishes. The house became Emily's safe haven, the cars were sold to secure her future, and the money was used to support her education. I no longer felt the need to cling to material things. Instead, I poured my love into Sarah and Emily, helping raise the little girl who carried so much of Daniel in her smile. Years later, as Emily grew into a bright and beautiful young woman, she stood at her graduation and said, "I couldn't have done this without my mother and grandmother. They showed me what true strength and love mean." Her words healed wounds I thought would never close. In the end, I realized that love is the only inheritance that truly matters. Houses crumble, cars fade, money disappears. But love, forgiveness, and family remain. I had hidden the truth out of fear, but when I finally faced it, I found something greater: peace.